What's up, guys? It's Techno Viking 23 coming to you today with some Destiny, and we are about 2 weeks out now from the House of Wolves release. Actually, we're about 14 days exactly, so exactly 2 weeks. So you guys have 2 weekly resets left to be getting yourselves ready for the House of Wolves in terms of building up your Crucible and Vanguard marks and leveling up your factions to the point where you can get some packages right away after the DLC comes out. But what I actually wanted to do today was we're going to go through the tower, and I'm going to try to point out some weapons and items I think you guys should acquire before the expansion comes out. Because as you guys know, basically all the vendors are getting new gear. Even the factions are all getting new reskinned and redone gear in terms of armor and weapons and things like that. So I think there's definitely a couple of sleeper weapons and some hidden gems a lot of people don't know about in the inventory for the Vanguard and the factions and the Crucible. So we're going to run around the tower today and take a look at those really quick. I'm here on my Hunter. Just been working on him lately. He's my newest character. I got him at level 28 now, so trying to get him a little bit higher up before we go into House of Wolves. And today is also Cinco de Mayo, so I hope you guys are having a good time. Stay safe if you do plan to go out and take part in any Cinco de Mayo activities. All right, so let's see. First off, let's start with the Crucible Quartermaster. Now, this is mainly going to be about weapons that we're going to take a look at here. Most obviously, sparrows are really not anything that's going to be a major part of the game, but taking a look at the Crucible Quartermaster, he does have a couple of pretty solid weapons that you probably want to try to pick up if you haven't already. Now, of course, this is going to be more for newer players. I know a lot of you guys are veterans. You've been playing the game since day one, so you probably know about a lot of these. So, you guys probably won't need this information, but for some of you newer guys who just started playing the game, if you're still looking to get some legendaries and other things, these are just some of my suggestions for weapons you should pick up from the vendors before they are gone. Now, let's look at three little words. This is a pulse rifle. And pulse rifles have been really good since the last buff that came out with them. This is one of the better ones. This is actually the highest damage pulse rifle, I believe, in the game. It actually hits harder than Red Death, so you can acquire this from the vendor. You've got Head Seeker, body shots with this weapon increase precision damage for a short time, which is pretty awesome. So if one of your bursts hits the body, your next burst hits the head, it's going to do even more damage. You've got Snapshot, high caliber rounds, and fitted stock for a little bit extra stability. And then you've got Third Eye, which is a great perk for PvP to give yourself a little bit of an advantage setting up encounters. Now, the only thing I don't like about three little words, and it's why I favor some of the other pulse rifles, is because the rate of fire is a little bit slower. The reload's not as fast, and overall, I just don't like the way it handles as an overall weapon. Now, some very accurate players will absolutely love this thing. As I said, it's going to be a two-burst kill to the head, just like Red Death, pretty much. It hits actually harder than Red Death, does a little bit more damage. So this can be a beast in the Crucible if you are an accurate shot. I definitely would suggest grabbing this because when the DLC comes out, I don't know what the frequency is going to be in terms of getting older legendary weapons, like from the Cryptarch. People have told me that apparently he still awards the old weapons from before the Dark Below when you turn in legendary engrams, but I've personally never seen that, and it's very hard for me to believe. They say it's very rare, but I don't know. Some people have said they've got Shadow Price and some of the other weapons, like the Swarm and things like that, from the Cryptarch now, but like I said, I've never seen that before, and not real sure what the frequency is of that, so if you want to grab some of these before House of Wolves comes out, this is one I would definitely suggest getting. Let's see, what other weapons? Okay, Beeline Trauma, if you're a scout rifle fan, and I do actually like scout rifles, I have this weapon on my Titan. This is a very fast-firing scout rifle. It does not do as much damage normally as the main scout rifles do, but makes up for that in fire rate. And in the Crucible, these are really a little bit more viable because there just aren't enough maps that really lend themselves to being good for the slow-firing, high-impact pulse rifles. This thing can really put a lot of ammunition on target very quickly. And again, if you're a very accurate player, this thing can mow people down really quick with headshots. You get Rodeo, which reduces the recoil. That helps out with getting those more accurate shots. Snapshot, Hammer Forge to really extend that reach out a little bit. And then you also get Armor Piercing Rounds for a tiny little addition of impact. Mulligan is probably the worst perk you can get in this game sometimes. This hardly ever works. It has a very, very small chance of returning ammunition. So with this, you'd probably want to go with Hammer Forged. and this would give you a very good high rate of fire scout rifle out to a pretty solid range. So this is another weapon I would suggest from my own personal experience. I've done pretty well with this in the Crucible. That high fire rate really helps put a lot of ammunition on target really quickly. Let me see if there's anything. I don't really have much experience with the rest of these. Let's see here, the trolley problem. I'm not a big fusion rifle fan. 2 to the Morgue is a very good shotgun. I see this being used a lot in the Crucible. You've got luck in the chamber. 1 random bullet causes considerable bonus damage. Quick draw, hammer forged, that's amazing. Gives this shotgun amazing range. Single point sling, and then crowd control. So this is a very good shotgun for both PvE and PvP. Another weapon I'd suggest picking up. Plus it's void, and there's not a lot of void weapons in the game. Although when the gunsmith does have the reroll feature, with House of Wolves, you're going to be able to reroll weapons until you get the ones you like. So definitely would suggest grabbing 2 to the Morgue. It's a very good shotgun in the Crucible and also for PvP, as most shotguns are now. Longbow Synthesis is a pretty solid sniper rifle. I actually have another one of these on my Titan as well. Spray and Play is a good perk to have on snipers. You get lightweight, Field Scout, which I think only takes that up to 6. Skip rounds is pretty much useless. And again, Mulligan. So you don't have the greatest perks on the one here from the vendor, but you do have the Ambush SLH scope, which is one of the better scopes in the game. Because let's be honest, a lot of the sniper scopes just zoom in way too far. As it is, there's really not a very long range you ever use them for. But this is one of those higher rate of fire sniper rifles that's very good in the Crucible. Like I said, the perks aren't the greatest on this. You'd probably, honestly, I would go with lightweight, and yeah, I would probably go with lightweight because of the rest of it. You don't really need Field Scout. And skip rounds are pretty much useless, and Mulligan's pretty much useless. So this is kind of a bad perk setup for the vendor, but this is still a very good weapon overall. If you're using that in PvP, you're not going to really be worried too much about anything besides spray and play. So definitely would pick this up, if you guys are looking for a pretty solid sniper rifle. Against all odds, this is a great machine gun. I have gotten 2 or 3 of these from the Cryptarch, so they have a little bit more different role. The problem with this one here is the stability is pretty crap. Now, one thing though is this is a slower firing LMG, so it's easier to keep your rounds on target. Plus this has persistence, so the weapon is more accurate the longer it's fired. You've got single point sling again, Field Scout, which is great for the Crucible, and then quick draw, and then Grenadier as well. So again, not the greatest perks. If you can get one of these from the Cryptarch, it's probably going to be a lot better. The one I have, the stability is actually like out to here, and it's like a freaking laser gun. This thing hits very hard. It kills very quickly in the Crucible, and is another reason I favor machine guns over rocket launchers. It seems like what happens is everybody grabs the heavy and fires off all the rockets. If you take a machine gun in, and like with this, you can get Field Scout, you'll go up to 50-some rounds, and you can hold on to that and let everybody fire off their rockets and their heavy. You've got a Field Scout LMG in the Crucible, you can just go on a rampage after everyone else has already gotten rid of their heavy ammo. So one of the reasons I favor machine guns in the Crucible, and this one is very, very good. I've gotten, I think, 2 or 3 of these from the Cryptarch, like I said, that have a little bit better perk setups and a little bit more stability. But with that lower rate of fire on an LMG, you're not going to really have too much problem keeping your rounds on target. So this is another weapon I would definitely suggest grabbing if you can. Valedictorian, I think I've got one of these. This is okay. Rocket launchers are a dime a dozen in this game anymore. So this one does have some pretty good perks. You got grenades and horseshoes, heavy payload, and also clown cartridge. So that's a very good perk setup from the vendor. If you don't have a legendary rocket launcher, actually this one and the one the Vanguard sell are both pretty solid. So you can't go wrong with either one of them. It's not a must buy, but it's definitely something you might want to take a look at if you don't have a good rocket launcher. So guys, if there's anything that I missed here, I'm just basically going off weapons I have experience with and what I've heard of. I don't really recommend, some people like these auto rifles, but I don't really recommend any of the low impact ones, especially because from what we've seen in House of Wolves so far, there are going to be some much higher impact auto rifles coming out. And there are some much better, actually, there's one of the factions has a much better auto rifle you can buy with your Crucible Marks. But again, if there's one that you guys like, please list it below in the comments and, leave that there so somebody else might be able to see it. That's pretty much it for the Crucible weapons. Now, of course, you've got, your armor from Lord Shaxx. I'm not a huge fan of these hunter masks or really any of the new Hunter armor. A lot of the new Hunter armor that's coming out actually looks pretty good, so I wouldn't say it's a must-buy to pick up any armor. I'd use those marks on the weapons. The Titans do have some cool armor from Lord Shaxx they might want to pick up, but you know, I'm mostly going to go over what weapons you want to try to grab from these guys before the DLC comes out. So that's pretty much it for the Crucible and my thoughts on that. Now we're going to head over to the other side of the tower here. We're going to go take a look at the Vanguard weapons and also at Dead Orbit and Future War Cult and see what my thoughts are on those. All right, so here we go with the Vanguard. Vanguard vendor over here. Again, Sparrows, you know, if you want to buy one of those, go, you know, I would not recommend blowing 175 marks this close to the House of Wolves release, but let's take a look at what the Vanguard guy has. Again, these auto rifles, I don't really suggest wasting marks on these. Like I said, there's a faction that's got a better one, plus you're going to be getting some decent auto rifles, it looks like, when the new DLC comes out. Up for Anything is not bad. This is actually, if you were going to buy one of the 4 auto rifles available from Vanguard and Crucible, this is the one I would actually suggest. But again, it's not a must-buy. Time on target, I had this and did not really care for it that much. Again, I just didn't like the way it handled. But this one, Coiled Hiss 1919, I have this on my Warlock. This is a sleeper weapon in PvP. It's pretty solid for PvE as well. But overall, this is a very good pulse rifle. You don't be fooled by the low impact. This thing has an incredibly high rate of fire. It lets you put a ton of ammo on target very, very quickly, and the time to kill with this weapon is actually pretty quick. You get some pretty decent scopes here. You got Feeding Frenzy. Kills with this weapon increase the reload speed, which is good because the reload is a little bit on the slow side with this. You get Hammer Forge to take your range out quite a bit. You've got high caliber rounds, and you also have stability, which I personally use Hammer Forged because I have a pretty good aim in this game, but if you're having trouble, Perfect Balance definitely works too, especially in the Crucible. This thing is just a laser beam, and you can put so many bursts on the head with this weapon. It kills very, very quickly, despite that lower impact. And then you've got Counterbalance again for even more stability. So, excellent weapon. There are some drop versions I've seen of this. A friend of mine has one. It's got Field Scout Third Eye, and it's an absolute monster in the Crucible. But this is one of those kind of sleeper weapons, especially with the Pulse Rifle buff. That really made the Pulse Rifles very viable. And this is one of those weapons. A lot of people I see, they call it like the Coiled Piss, and they joke about it. But maybe not be the greatest weapon in PvE, especially with that low magazine size. You're only going to get about 10 bursts, but this thing can really do very well in the Crucible. You know, once you get it leveled up, it's got some great middle perks here. And like I said, that fire rate is very high. You can put a lot of ammunition on target very quickly. And if you can get those precision hits, you're going to mow somebody down really fast with this weapon. It's basically like having almost an auto rifle with a little bit better stability. But very good weapon. I would suggest picking this up if you haven't already. I have one of these on my Warlock. I'm actually working on a review on it right now. I just have to get it maxed out. So I don't like to actually do reviews on these until I get the weapons all the way maxed, but so far I'm really enjoying this weapon. All right, and let's see what else we've got. Now, there are actually 2 pretty solid scout rifles here from the Vanguard, another nail in the coffin and Badger CCL. I wouldn't say either of these is a must-buy, but they're okay. If you're looking for, you know, a decent scout rifle, I would actually suggest the Badger CCL over the other one, even though it does have the Mulligan perk, which, like I said, is a pretty big waste of time. You do get Send It, Flared Magwell, so your reload and your range can be maxed out. This does have luck in the chamber, so one random bullet causes considerable bonus damage, which is good because this has a very small magazine at 14 rounds. But again, neither of these are must-buys, but if you are looking for a scout rifle, I'd buy the Beeline Trauma from the Crucible guy first, but then maybe the Badger CCL. But again, neither of these from the Vanguard are must-buys. This is pretty much not great unless you have Field Scout. This can be a very good hand cannon, but it fires very quickly, and with that 5-round magazine, it's just not worth it. Plug 1 is a very good fusion rifle. This used to be Master of the Crucible because it's just got some really good perks. You got Performance Bonus, Flared Magwell for the reload, Perfect Balance, and then Armor-Piercing Rounds. You also have Feeding Frenzy for even more reload speed. This is a very good fusion rifle in general, but they've really been kind of phased out of PvP, quite honestly. Everybody now just uses shotguns. I don't know if they will bring fusion rifles back to how they were before and make them more viable. It's kind of funny because the way they do the weapons, it's like they instead of making something competitive, they just nerf it into obscurity, and then something else like the shotguns takes its place. So there's not a whole lot of weapon balance. It's more like flavor of the month weapon everybody uses, and that's what shotguns are now. It's what fusion rifles used to be. Fusion rifles are still pretty good in PvE, but the problem is, again, shotguns are so good now. It's like shotguns used to be so bad, nobody used them. Now shotguns are so good, everybody uses them. So when you can basically run up with a shotgun and two-shot a major at level 30, there's really not a whole lot of reason to use a fusion rifle. So I'm going to say, you don't have to buy a fusion rifle, but this is actually a very good one if you were looking to pick one up if you don't have one already. Now we move on to what I would definitely call a must-buy. This, in addition to 2 to the Morgue from the Crucible, these are probably the 2 of the better weapons you can pick up. This is a arc shotgun. It has a 6-round magazine. It has 2 of the best perks you can get on a shotgun with Hammer Forged and Shot Package. So this can really take your range out there and your accuracy out there very good to extend that one-hit kill range in the Crucible. 2 to the Morgue, actually, I would suggest buying first if you can, because it actually has much higher range and overall a little bit better statistics. But this is a very good, you can see you can get more impact and range with some of the ballistic options. The stability is not something I've ever really cared about with a shotgun, because it's either usually when you're in a shotgun encounter, if you don't get a one-hit kill, you're going to die anyway. So you're not going to really have to be worrying about accuracy on follow-up shots. This is a very high rate of fire shotgun. It works really well in PvP and PvE. I have 2 of these, bought both of them from the vendor. One for my Warlock, and then I use the other one on my Titan. But very, very good shotgun overall. This is a great weapon. This is actually one of the first suggestions I would say if you are going to spend those 150 marks, this is probably what you ought to buy first. If you were buying for the Vanguard, I would suggest that or the Coiled Hiss as my top priority. Moving on, you've got the LDR 5001. This is also a very, very good sniper rifle. If you don't already have a sniper rifle, this is pretty good. You've got unflinching. This is actually a better perk for PvP than it is for PvE, which is kind of funny because it seems like a lot of the Vanguard weapons work well in PvP, and a lot of the Crucible weapons work well in PvE, so it's like they got them mixed up a little bit. You do have high caliber rounds for a little bit more impact, also armor piercing rounds. These used to be amazing because you could basically shoot through walls with these in the Crucible and wallbang people. Skip rounds, they have this on both this and the longbow synthesis. Not sure why. This is not a very good perk at all. And then this one you do get Clown Cartridge, which reloading this weapon has a chance to grant a larger than normal magazine. Perk setup wise, this has much better perks than the longbow synthesis you can get at the Crucible vendor. And like I said, this is a very solid sniper rifle overall, and you've got that ambush scope on it as well, which is a very good sniper scope. Arc sniper, I wish it was void. This doesn't seem like there's a lot of void stuff in the game, but House of Wolves, obviously, you're going to be able to reroll stuff. So none of this older stuff can be rerolled. It will just be the new weapons you can buy, but still going to be a cool feature. But overall, I think this is a very good sniper rifle. If you're going to be looking for one, I'd prioritize this over the longbow synthesis at the Crucible. You've got MG18 Harm's Way. This is another very good LMG. It's got a little bit of a higher fire rate than the Against All Odds, but you see both your ballistic options here really take your stability up quite a bit, and that can help because this thing comes with a 54-round magazine right out of the box, and this can be a very good weapon again in the Crucible. It's really funny how that works. A lot of these Vanguard weapons are very good in PvP. You've got Rodeo to reduce severity of the recoil. You got high caliber rounds, stagger targets, snapshot, and flared magwell, which is this is what I would go with because you reload a little bit quicker. Crowd control, kills with this weapon grant bonus damage for a short time. Again, this is where I was saying this, especially with this 54-round magazine, you take this into the Crucible, you get your heavy, you let everybody else go out and waste theirs and shoot their rockets and blow everything up, and then you've got a very good machine gun. You can go around, and especially with crowd control, you can get a lot of kills in a short amount of time. That's one of the reasons I just favor machine guns over rockets in the Crucible. So another great weapon here. This is definitely one you might want to pick up if you don't have a good machine gun, and it is void damage also, which can be good for those nightfalls. Finally, we have the one-way ticket, 000. This is actually a pretty solid rocket launcher. Again, but rocket launchers in this game are kind of like a dime a dozen, and unless you have Yallarhorn, it's kind of like nobody cares about rockets. You do have cluster bombs, which I don't really know what this perk does. It's very cool to use because it makes this really huge explosion, and it's kind of cool to look at, but I've never really seen the cluster bombs actually do a whole lot of damage to anything. You do have fitted stock, which is kind of useless on a rocket launcher. Heavy payload is good, and then you've got Field Scout. You can take that ammo capacity up to 2 in the tube. This does have Who's Next, kill with the final round of the magazine, increases reload speed, which is good for those launchers that don't have 2 or 3 rounds or 2 or 3 shots in the tube. But overall, this is it's a decent. I actually think the one you can get at the Crucible, the Valedictorian, is much better, so you'd want to buy that one before this. This is not really a must-buy. It's just something I wanted. I've got one, and it's okay, but I would say definitely from the Vanguard, your must-buy weapons are probably first and foremost is gonna be a Secret Handshake. This is an amazing shotgun. Then I would say the Coiled Hiss 1919, and then probably the LDR 5001 or the MG18 Harm's Way. And again, this is just if you guys need a weapon like that. You don't have to buy these. I'm just showing you some pretty cool weapons that will still be very good, I think, in the game when you get up to 365 attack. You will be able to ascend all of these. And again, a lot of these Vanguard weapons are very good in PvP, so that's one of the reasons I'm trying to point that out to you. All right, so now we're going to go upstairs. Let's go check out the Future War Cult. That's actually what my hunter is repping, the Future War Cult. I've decided he's going to be my Future War Cult grinding character. You can see he's got all the Future War Cult weapons already. Most of these, I got this from the vendor, and then these two actually were drops from the Cryptarch. So let's talk to the Future War Cult. Now, the first weapon I'm going to go on, you guys know I talk about this weapon on and on and on again. I absolutely love the Chance. It's one of the better hand cannons in the game, I think. And this is a really solid vendor weapon that you can get. It's got Field Scout. This is going to take you up to 13 rounds. It's a very high rate of fire. Decent impact. This is a 3 to 4 hit kill in the Crucible. Very good weapon. You can do Flared Magwell for a little bit more reload speed. And then you've got perfect balance as well. So a really solid middle perk tree here. You've got spray and play, increase your reload speed when the mag is empty. So I definitely suggest going through that entire magazine when you're firing this weapon. And you have Grenadier. Kills with this weapon reduce the cooldown of your grenade. This is a very good perk to have on a hand cannon. And it might not be, it's not Timber's Lash, it's not Last Word, but it's a very, very solid, it's a kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. And in the right hands, this thing can do a lot of good work in the Crucible. And it's a great hand cannon in PvE, and it looks cool. I think this gun looks amazing. It's probably one of my favorite. Besides the Red Hand 9 and the Last Word, I think this is one of the better looking hand cannons in the game. It just kind of has that large, powerful hand cannon look to it. Just absolutely love everything about this weapon. If you're a hand cannon fan, I definitely would say this is a must buy, because when the vendor weapons change, they're not going to have that anymore. I believe the only way you're going to be able to get that is going to be through a package from the Future War Cult. Now, the Calling is also a pretty good scout rifle. This one, you've got some decent perks. Again, Mulligan is kind of a wasted perk slot, and then you've got Rodeo, which again, with a scout rifle, you don't really need that. So you've got 2 perk slots here that are basically a waste. In the middle here, you would probably want to go with Flared Magwell or Send It. 16-round magazine, you got some decent scopes, but overall, you can pass. You're going to get probably a better version of this from a package from the Future War Cult. It's a very cool looking scout rifle, and it does perform very well, but it's not a must buy per se. So you'd be better off probably buying one of either the Badger CCL or the Beeline Trauma from the Vanguard or the Crucible. Moving on, you have the Crash, which is the Future War Cult shotgun. And kind of right out of the box, you're not going to be doing as well because you don't have Hammer Forged and you don't have Shot Package. Like I said, that Vanguard shotgun, the Secret Handshake, is just really, really good. This one, Luck in the Chamber is okay. That works very well in PvE, but with a 6-round magazine, not so great in PvP. Field Scout will take that up, I believe, to 7 shots. Perfect balance. Lightweight. Overall, not a really good set of perks on this shotgun. You do have some decent ballistic options here. But again, just not a very good perk setup. I would definitely pass on this. While it does look cool, it's not quite as good as either of the vendor shotguns, the 2 to the Morgue or the Secret Handshake. You definitely will do a lot better buying. 2 to the Morgue I would prioritize. That's the one you would definitely want to purchase. And then Secret Handshake. Then you have the Calling. This is one of those very high magazine, max rate of fire machine guns, and you definitely do not want to buy this. It's not very good. It's hard to stay accurate on target with these shots, even with counterbalance. You do get high caliber rounds, snapshot, and skip rounds, which are all kind of, and you've got Who's Next, which you don't really need because you got a 74 round magazine, and if you can't make that last a long time, I don't know You don't need reload speed. This is not, I definitely don't buy this. It's not worth your marks. Now, you might get lucky. Like, I got one of these in a package from the Cryptarch when I got it. Now, this is actually, mine's got really high stability. You can see there. If we want to compare it to the one, you can see that's got higher stability on it, but when I get mine done, it's going to match that pretty much. I still do not really care for this weapon. I've been using it just because, like I said, my hunter is kind of the, the future war cult guy, so I kind of just kept it to have a future war cult weapon. It's got some similar perks, but overall, it's just not a very good machine gun at all. Not at all. So definitely, like I said, if you are going to grab anything from future war cult, you want to pick up the chance. That is definitely the one weapon, especially if you're a hand cannon fan, I would say is a must buy from them. So that's it for Future War Cult. Let's head on downstairs, and we're going to go talk to Dead Orbit. And they have some interesting weapons. Let's see what we've got here. Now, you have the Unwilling Soul 09. Do not buy this. This thing is a waste of time. It's a bullet hose. Has really bad impact. Again, it's one of those high rate of fire, low impact. It looks cool, but you got fitted stock. You've got snapshot. Skip rounds again is such a useless perk. Persistence. So persistence and fitted stock make it decent, and you've got glass half full if you're one of those people who likes the bullet hose type weapons. But again, like I said, just not worth spending 150 marks on, especially when it takes so long to get those Crucible Marks. There are so many better options out there. Definitely do not waste your marks on that. Now, Crypt Dweller it's kind of in the same boat as the new Monarchy and Future War Cult's Scout Rifle. It's a decent overall Scout Rifle. You do have Outlaw, which is a very good perk to have on Scout Rifle. You've got Snapshot, Send It, and Custom Optics. And you also have Rangefinder. This one has a smaller magazine at 13 rounds, and it really doesn't have, besides Outlaw, any perks to really make up for that. You're just not going to get great performance compared to the vendor, the Vanguard and the Crucible Scout Rifles. You're just not going to get a whole lot of performance. And like I said, you're probably going to get better roll on this if you get it out of a Dead Orbit package. So I wouldn't waste my marks on that either. Hide and Seek 42. This is actually a pretty solid shotgun, and you've got Hammer Forged, which is always good. This is a Void shotgun as well, which again, that's kind of a rare weapon type right now. You've got some decent ballistic options for a little bit more impact and range. You've got Cascade, melee kills, increased reload speed of this weapon for a short time. Flared Magwell, Hammer Forged obviously is the one you want to go with there. Any shotgun with Hammer Forged is always good. And then Crowd Control. So the 4-round magazine, that's very good to have that there. And this is definitely, I would say, if you're going to buy anything from Dead Orbit, it would be the Hide and Seek 42, especially for the Crucible. This is a pretty solid shotgun. It's not going to be, I would say it's still third behind Two to the Morgue and Secret Handshake, but it is definitely a good shotgun if you want to pick it up. Definitely a very good shotgun there. Then you have the Deviant Gravity A. This is actually a pretty solid machine gun. A lot of people do like this weapon quite a bit. It's got some really good options. Look, you can take your stability all the way up there. And you've got spray and play, so faster reload speed. You do have single point sling, Hammer Forged for a little bit better range, and then again, skip rounds. I don't know why they put skip rounds on everything. And surplus, you'll find more ammunition for this weapon, which is good in PvE. But this is a pretty solid Crucible machine gun. I would say if you're going to buy anything from Dead Orbit besides the shotgun, this would definitely be the other option you would want to go with. This is one of the better actual machine guns you can pick up. It's actually it's right up there with Against All Odds, but I still prefer Against All Odds. But those would be the two weapons in Dead Orbit you would want to go with. I would prioritize the shotgun and then maybe the machine gun. It just depends again on what you guys are looking for and what you need. Also, some of the Dead Orbit armor looks really good, especially since it's got that really cool black color if you don't use a shader. I actually picked up the Warlock robes for my Warlock because they just look really cool. But overall, we're talking about weapons here. So again, shotgun and machine gun are going to be your two choices here that you want to go with. So that's Dead Orbit. All right, we got one more to go. We're going to head over to New Monarchy now. So just bear with me here for a few seconds, guys. We're going to go take a look at the weapons they have to offer. They actually have one of the top must-buys, I would say, if you don't have it already. One of their weapons, the Vanquisher 8 auto rifle, which is one of my favorite weapons in the game. It's kind of one of those throwback auto rifles to prior to the Dark Below. It's kind of like a shadow price. You know, it's got that really good feel to it, really good impact and rate of fire, and pretty much just overall very good handling auto rifle. So let's head over here to New Monarchy. And let's take a look at what they have. Now, I'm actually really excited about New Monarchy in the House of Wolves because their weapon inventory is going to change. I believe Red Hand 9 is actually going to be a vendor weapon now, which is really cool. But getting into it right here, the Vanquisher 8. This is, you definitely would want to pick this up from them because I don't believe they're going to have it in their inventory after the DLC. You will be able to take this up to 365 attack. You can see there it's one of those little bit lower rate of fire but much higher impact auto rifles. This is a very good auto rifle for both PvP and PvE. The only thing I don't really like about it is the very small magazine size, but this does have a few perks to kind of help out with that. You do have red dot ORS1 and the range lens RLS3 in addition to steady hand IS. You do get spray and play, which when you empty the mag, you'll have a little bit faster reload speed. Again, I definitely suggest taking advantage of that. That goes hand in hand with the glass half full because the bottom half of each magazine causes additional damage. So you definitely want to fire through that entire 22 rounds. My problem is I have like the Call of Duty syndrome where I have to reload after every kill. I'm trying to get better at not doing that, but with this weapon, you definitely want to go through that entire magazine. You have high caliber rounds, but fitted stock is what you probably want to go with on this one because you're going to get that max stability, really make this thing fire on a laser, like a laser gun. It's really a very good auto rifle. If you're looking for one of those auto rifles, like I said, that reminds you of the old ones that were out before the Dark Below came out, this is one of those, and it's also got a very good kind of look to it, very good paint scheme. It just handles very well overall. Now I don't have my Warlock's got the vendor one. I actually got another Vanquisher from the Crypt Arc this week. It has a little bit better scope options than the vendor one, and this one has hip fire. I got fitted stock again, and I also got crowd control. So the perks are a little bit better on the vendor weapon, but I love the Vanquisher overall. And what I've found is this is actually a very good weapon to use on a hunter. I've been having a lot of good luck with it in the Crucible because you have that smaller magazine size, but with the hunter, if you're using Chain of Woe and you're getting those precision kills, you can reload very fast. And that comes in handy both PvP and PvE. So I would actually surprisingly suggest the Vanquisher as a hunter weapon because it's actually very good if you're playing Gunslinger. All right, moving on, we have the Crusader, which is again another kind of lackluster scout rifle from the factions. You can get some of these that are pretty good in packages. I actually did get one that's got, I think it's Firefly on it, which is very good. Rodeo, again, not really a great perk for a scout rifle. You got Snapshot, Send It, and armor-piercing rounds. And then again, Mulligan, which is a waste of a perk. Not a good scout rifle at all for the vendor. Now you have Judgment 6. I have one of these in my Warlock, but it was a drop one. Return to sender, kills with this weapon, grant bonus ammo. Not a great perk for a shotgun. You got quick draw, snapshot, and single point sling. Again, no hammer forged, and spray and play increases reload speed of this weapon when its mag is empty. So really not the greatest perks on this shotgun. This is actually probably the worst vendor shotgun, worst vendor shotgun you could pick up. Two to the Morgue, Secret Handshake, the one from Dead Orbit is good. All three of those are going to be so much better than this. Even the one from Future War Call, which doesn't have good perks, is better than this. So definitely not worth spending your 150 marks on. And then we get to the Prestige. This thing is an absolute waste of time. You've got that huge 87 round magazine, but this thing again, it's got that max rate of fire. The only way these weapons are really any good at all is if you burst fire them. And again, there's just so many better options for heavy machine guns in the Crucible and for PvE. So the impact on this is really low. And again, just that very high fire rate really does not help out this gun at all. So another waste. New Monarchy really just has the Vanquisher. That's probably the only thing. And like I said, this is definitely a weapon you want to pick up if you are an auto rifle fan. If not, it's still a good weapon, but overall, that's one of the top buys, I would say, before House of Wolves releases. That's still going to be a very good weapon even when the DLC drops because it has very complementary perks. Like I said, glass half full and spray and play really ensure that you get the most out of that 22 round magazine. So that is one of my top buys. If you're going for faction weapons, I'd say that the Chance hand cannon are probably two of the better ones you could pick up for a primary. And then obviously, if you want to go to the Crucible, you're going to want to grab that two to the Morgue shotgun. So you've got a lot of good options here, guys. If you want to pick up some legendary weapons before the House of Wolves comes out, I've actually seen that they put out some of the new perk information on some of the new perks that are coming out, and they honestly don't look that great. So some of these older weapons may be sleepers, you know, especially after the DLC. They may be really good in the Crucible. That seems to be what happens a lot of the time. Like when the Dark Below came out, um, there were a lot of the older weapons from prior to that were still very good. So that is it's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. It ran a little bit longer than I wanted, but I wanted to make sure I took some time to show you guys, especially some of you newer players, some of those weapons you can buy from the vendors that will still be pretty good and pretty solid even after House of Wolves comes out. You'll be able to upgrade all those to 365. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As I said, if any of you guys have any other suggestions, please leave them below in the comments. If there's anything you think I missed on or you think I didn't give enough credit to, definitely list those weapons out. Tell me what you guys like if you're planning on buying any of these before the DLC comes out. And again, we're about 2 weeks away, so we're getting there. We've got the reveal stream tomorrow on Prison of Elders. I will be watching very intently. That is the one I'm very interested in, and I'm hoping it doesn't suck. Just being quite honest. I'll have my thoughts on that afterwards, but that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Stay safe if you're out there partying and having a good time, and I will see you again next time.